RockEyez would like to welcome Evan. Hey, man, what's up? Cage9.
What's going on?
Not much.
How you guys doing?
Good. Your Illuminator was just released, June 3rd and stuff like that? It's almost a month and stuff like that. It's been received really well, especially from, your peers and stuff. I'm reading some quotes like from Brian Head Welch and Blasko from Ozzy and stuff like that. What's the feeling like getting feedback from your peers?
Oh, it's an honor, of course. I mean, those quotes in question I made up, but in reality, I'm completely just kidding. Yeah, it's awesome, obviously, because you go into the process of making music, and really, you got to make music for yourself. You have to be true to your artistic vision. You have to kind of roll with your punches. You have to kind of be satisfying your inner need to create and be artistic. And you kind of have to not take into account what people are going to think. That's how you're going to end up making something interesting and something good and something that you can walk away and be proud of, So the whole process of actually making music is pretty self-contained. You're not thinking about the external world for the most part,
Right.
And so to get any kind of positive feedback is like a huge thing, I mean, it could have got no feedback. It could have, and honestly, you'd be okay with that if you are pumped about what you have done. If you're happy, you feel like you did the right thing, and it doesn't really go anywhere. At least at the end of the day, you're like, well, I'm happy with what I did.
Right.
I look at other albums, I look at bands that I love, and like local bands and friends that I think are freaking amazing, and they kind of never went anywhere. They didn't blow up like I would have expected. I'm still like, man, that album is amazing. Whether it got critical acclaim or not.
Right.
So it's kind of like cherry on top. It's a great thing, and huge honor to get, noticed by anybody, obviously.
Right. Yeah.
Including yourself.
How hard is it to really get noticed? Does it help a lot with the internet or, word of mouth, or how's that work?
I think word of mouth is key, I mean, obviously the internet and, social medias is kind of it's important, I mean, you got to kind of be on there, and it's kind of a bummer in terms of as far as an artist goes. You kind of have to now add that to your skills. You got to give good you got to give good social media.
Right.
And so it kind of like you have to put on this other hat. I mean, I think musicians 10 plus years ago, you had the artistic types like say Kurt Cobain, who probably blew his head off because he was like couldn't take the attention. He couldn't take all the adoration. He couldn't take, because who is he? He's like an artist. The guy's like a crazy person who creates amazing stuff. And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, do these interviews. Hey, everybody thinks you're amazing. Man, how's your next album going to do? Are you going to make some more amazing shit,
Right, yeah.
And it's like this crazy pressure. And it's hard for people that are true artists, I think, So the rest of us normal people who kind of are, one of the artists. Right. It's like, we have to kind of accept that as part of the deal. We got to be out there promoting, and it's like as much work as making music almost, because you sort of have to connect. You have to, I think more over the past few months and years, I feel like the algorithms that Facebook and Twitter now are enacting, and even Instagram, like every post has to have like some kind of deep connection. You have to have like said the right thing, and it has to be interesting in a certain way for anybody even to see it. So the days in which you can kind of just put stuff out there like, oh, whatever, just kind of talk to your fans and talk to people and be cool about it, those are almost over. It's like it now has risen to a level where everything you do has to have like a lot of value.
Right.
You can't just be like make a joke and be funny. It's like it has to be a joke that includes some kind of value to everyone that might be watching for it to get seen, so like the stakes are just going up and up, and it's kind of a bummer. I kind of wish the days of like MySpace where it was just like anybody that signs up to your like feed sees what you're doing, right. And it's like you can kind of roll with it. Now it's like the pressure is on to like deliver really interesting posts. Right. And that's kind of a bummer, for I don't want to think too much about that stuff. I want to be like making music. I want to be out, touring, and not so much worrying about the next post and if the selfie looked cool, but right. That's unfortunate. That's like kind of where it seems to be going. I hope we can kind of move on to the next platform that allows artists to kind of be who they are and not freaking worry about how many likes and shares they're going to get, you know?
Oh, you got that sounds like my wife. What do you look on Facebook just to see how many likes you got? You know, it's like,
dude.
I said, no, I'm just enjoying myself and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
So, I mean, the band started in 1993, I think, around that era. You know, like
that's kind of wrong. It's not, the band has really, Cage9 came into being about 99. That's when we put out. But that was officially Cage9. I mean, essentially since like high school, I've been doing something that became Cage9, and it's been, you know, some people could probably call it that. That's I can't stand what people say. It's like, dude, not that old. I was like a teenager. Yes, that was like when I started thinking about playing music, but that's not exactly that's not exactly when Cage9 began.
Well, I'm glad you cleared that up, you know, because that's what the bio said. I read.
Yeah,
you know?
That's Wikipedia, so it's like, I don't know. I guess people sort of kind of, you know, they sort of deduce whatever they want and they post it, and you know, I don't really care. I don't care that much. I'm fine with whatever, but yeah, that's not exactly right.
Now, when you put out album after album, does it always have to be what you really like on that album, or is it has to be we got to make it better than the last one?
I think it goes hand in hand. I mean, you want to, you know, you want to evolve at all times. You know, your next album should definitely kind of build on wherever the last one left off, you know. So some people, I mean, I love it when bands like say, you know, Nothing More. I love that last album. I hope their next album is a lot like that current album. I mean, that album is so sick. I hope they do. I wouldn't be bummed out at all if they put out another album that kind of was like the same, just with different songs, you know?
Right.
But I'm sure Nothing More is in the studio right now, like trying to up that album. They want that next album to be totally better than that last one, and that's, you know, that's how you should roll. You know, you should totally be trying to up yourself. You should try to be, you know, whatever you did on that last record, you should kind of try to multiply that times 10. You know, and you should, and like for our new album, I do kind of feel like we successfully tapped into, you know, deeper sentiments in terms of my lyrics, and you know, I think I connected more with my subconscious in the lyrics. I connected more with, you know, my soul really in what the music kind of portrayed, you know, and I think that's the key. I think that's what people respond to, you know. It's like this artist is laying it out, you know, they're letting you into their world, you know. That's how it should feel when you put that CD in your CD player, if anybody actually has those anymore. And it should kind of, you should feel like you're hearing something somewhat intimate. You're hearing like something from that person's life, that artist's life, you know. And Illuminator, I think, in a lot of the songs definitely connected. You know, it's we kind of let some of the ideas, you know, kind of like stretch out a little longer. We didn't self-edit quite as much. You know, the whole record is self-produced. We did it completely ourselves. Mixed and mastered. We did the artwork. We've now produced the last 2 videos ourselves, and it's kind of a good way to go because we're completely in control of the way we are coming across. You know, the face of Cage9 is completely in our own hands. You know, if we don't like have awesome success at the end of the day, at least we know we're not going to blame other people. It's completely our own fault. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's definitely you know, I listened to it a couple times already, and you know, today and yesterday and stuff like that. It's definitely an easy album to listen to. I mean, you have a great diversity on this album and stuff like that. So you go to a little bit heavier, and you know, you got some melodic stuff in there and a little slow stuff. I really enjoyed it, and you know,
thank you.
A lot of albums I you know, start listening to, and I got to click off, you know, so, because I get so much, you know, and, you know, listening to it, but it's nice to have a feeling when you could sit back, put the headphones on, and really enjoy an album like, you know, your latest one, which
Dude, that means so much to me. Thank you so much, man.
No problem, no problem. When you do a show and stuff like that, and, you know, you have, you know, 100 kids or more, you know, mostly more, you know, waiting, you know, by your bus and stuff like that, and just to get an autograph from you or a picture. What's the feeling like?
It's great, you know, kind of how I was saying before. It's like when we're in the studio, we're not thinking about that kind of thing. So when the album's done, which just came out now June 3rd, we're beginning to see kind of the feedback and, you know, whether it's good or bad, it's awesome to kind of see people reacting, you know, in some way or another, and, you know, having a little bit of yourself out in the world. And, you know, if people are asking for an autograph or they, you know, they want your picture, I mean, that's like, that's a huge honor, you know. I mean, It's a huge honor that anybody would take a minute to, let alone listen to your record, you know. I mean, it's a huge world. There's so many records out. I was just looking on, like, you know, the top 100 iTunes or whatever, and it's like, oh my God, there are so many bands, you know. I mean, and bands you've mostly never heard of, people kind of like us that have, you know, produced stuff on their own and put it out. I mean, the amount of music out there is just staggering, you know. So obviously to be noticed by anyone is, you know, in this day and age is like a huge honor. So we're absolutely pumped. And anytime someone is so much as wanting, you know, to buy a you know, a T-shirt or get our autograph, that's a huge honor.
Right. Do you feel better off being in control of you know, basically everything? So since it's in-house and stuff like that, you say you mix it yourself and stuff like that instead of somebody else, you know, doing it for you.
It's a double-edged sword. I mean, I would love to work with, you know, Howard Benson or one of these awesome, enormous producers. You know, I'm sure they would take our music to a totally different place that I would have done myself, you know.
Right.
But it's also great. I mean, you know, I'm happy to get super involved. I mean, it's like this all-encompassing thing where your just entire world revolves around the music. For the past 2 years, it's been like, it's almost like a curse. I mean, you never walk away from it. It's just always something you're thinking about. You know, I'm always tweaking stuff just because I can. You know, I go into our rehearsal spot and I sit down in front of the computer, I pull out my guitar and just, I can add a new solo, I can change, I can add, you know, new parts, I can delete stuff, I can start again, I can completely throw it away and start again because it's not going to cost me anything because we are, you know, in control. But that's also a bad thing because then we never really walk away from stuff until someone shows up and like, hey guys, put this out, you're done. You know, walk away from it. And that's something I think just art in general, it's like any artist is never really done with their work. You know, if you let them, they will just labor on it until it's like completely unrecognizable from where it started. And that's kind of a bad thing because in general, I think, you know, when you're in touch with your subconscious and you're like making something that has moved you in some way, that initial gut reaction, that was like the best moment, you know. So the more you work on it and let your brain kind of take over and think, oh, well, maybe I should change this, you know, to a certain extent, that's good. But it really, in the short run, like in the long run, if you keep changing, you're going to end up with, you know, Guns N' Roses' Chinese Democracy, which is like a big piece of crap because they like worked on it so long. And it's like, I'm sure whatever he started with was a great idea, but I guarantee you 10 years later, he had no idea what he was thinking 10 years ago, you know. And it's like, that was the good moment. That was his epiphany. Anytime you make something, like, you know, when I hum something into my phone, that is generally the vibe, whatever was going on there, like, that's what I need to develop, that's what I need to work on and concentrate on before the idea disappears, you know?
Right.
And after a couple weeks of listening to an idea, you no longer are in touch with it, you know? You just can't be super inspired and moved by something after you've heard it 100 times, you know?
Right.
I mean, you can, but it's like, it's nowhere as exciting as it was those first couple times, you know? It's like a drug or anything. You just, those first couple moments are what you have to kind of like try to get the snapshot of, and that's what you need to put on the record, you know?
Right.
So it's good and bad. It's good and bad to be able to have that, you know, that power in your arsenal, you know, working on your own music.
Right. You have any feelings towards vinyl making a comeback?
That's awesome. It's awesome because, I mean, that means that people are kind of like really kind of digging a little bit more deeply the way I would think they used to. You know, you put music under a microscope, you got to pick it up, you got to look at the artwork, you got to take the time to sit the needle down. It's a lot more labor intensive, so you are concentrating and paying more homage to the creation of that music, you know. So that is amazing. And, you know, you cannot say, no matter what goes on with, you know, file sharing and pirating and everything, it's like people are still pumped about music, you know. Music is still a huge part of the human experience, you know, and I'm pretty sure that's never going away. You know, the way we consume it, the way we kind of take it into our lives definitely has changed. You know, the people aren't really listening to full albums, I don't think, as much. I think people are more obsessed with singles and stuff like that, and it's such a pick and choose culture just all around, you know, and that includes music.
Right.
But it'll always have this big role in our lives, you know. So whether whether bands like us can survive and, make a living, that's kind of more up in the air for the future. I don't know how long people are going to be able to continue touring and making music when you just really can't make money kind of the old-fashioned way of just selling music,
Right.
But people will always, listen to music, and there will always be a place for music to be made, so we just kind of have to adapt and try to stay in touch with why we do it in the first place,
Right. When you go out on tour and stuff like that, is there any country you really would like to go visit and stuff like that, and why?
We've toured, and we've done kind of like we've hit a couple continents, and I would say Japan is our favorite to go to. The fans there are just super, they just revolve around the music. They know all the lyrics. They're super fans, and it's really interesting because we'll go play and they'll know all the lyrics and they're super pumped, but in between songs they just get all quiet and you kind of feel like, hey, they're not screaming and yelling, but they're so intense,
right,
that they don't need to scream and yell. They jump around, they go nuts, but as soon as the song's over, they kind of chill and they're waiting for the next instruction,
Right.
It's so cool. It's like a totally different experience. It's kind of like a different world, So yeah, I think Japan's our favorite place to go. But we're from Panama. I grew up in Panama, and we go back there. And depending on the circumstances, we were able to open for Ozzy and for Bad Religion recently, and that is kind of a different scenario because it's kind of like our hometown.
Right.
And you have your family and your friends, and it's just this crazy. If we can catch it on a weekend when it's like a free booze show or something, it'll also be this pandemonium unrivaled in any other place we'll play. So, it's definitely a toss-up between Panama and Japan for us.
Right.
But I do hope that our album is going to come out in Europe sometime this month. They kind of have different release dates. Uh-huh. And it's a dream of ours to hit Europe. So hopefully we'll go rock somewhere
cool
on the other side of the pond sometime soon as well.
That'd be cool. Everything You Love Will Someday Die is your latest video. Do you plan on another one?
Yeah, we are kind of trying to decide what the next single will be. My personal favorite would be Oscuro.
Uh-huh.
But everybody, actually, we just over the past couple of days, everybody's got their own opinions on what the next single will be. Because we were either going to go kind of more with a more heavy song, or maybe something that's a little more condensed, a little more accessible to radio kind of thing. So, we might also go with Martyr, which had gotten some really, cool reviews. So it'll be probably one of those two. Yeah, it's up in the air. We're not sure yet, and we're open to opinions. So if anybody has a song that they think has to be the next single, we're all ears.
Right. What's the rest of the year look like for you guys?
Hopefully we'll be out on tour in August. We have and I don't want to talk about it just because I feel like I'm going to jinx it, because it's half the tour is booked already, but it hasn't been confirmed, so I don't want to say, oh, it's definitely happening. But we've also tentatively been talking about touring with Lacey Sturm, whose album I produced, her new solo album. This is the singer of Flyleaf.
Right.
And I produced her new record, which has been doing great. And she's kind of been out on her own, kind of supporting other bands, but she's out there killing it, and we keep talking about touring together. So there's a very, very high likelihood that we'll be out with her. But August is looking very likely. Half the dates are booked. I'm not really supposed to, put it out there again. I don't want to jinx it. But regardless of that, I absolutely, I know we'll be out touring throughout the rest of the year. So, throughout the Midwest for sure, Texas. We have all these plans. So, yeah, you definitely look out. Keep track of us online, and, we'll have the dates out soon.
Cool. Evan, Cage9 Illuminator, and the latest album from Cage9. It's great talking to you. Would you like to say anything to the fans out there in conclusion?
No, it's absolutely my pleasure and honor, to even when people download our stuff for free, it's, as I was saying before, it's a huge, kind of compliment to the band that, I go online and I can see the notifications of where our music's being listened to, and just to know that people are actually taking notice of us is a huge honor, and I thank everyone, cool. On behalf of the whole band,
thanks a lot,
for
man.
checking us out.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
You bet.
Bye-bye.
You bet, man.
Bye-bye.
Take care.